Hello, in this video I'm going to give you the best settings to shoot movies with this camera, the Canon 4000D or Rebel T100. The Canon EOS 4000D or Rebel T100 is an excellent camera for shooting both stills and movies, and in this video I'm going to give you the best settings for this camera to shoot movies. Please do watch to the end to see how you can get a great deal for our manual for this camera. Now, in order to make any changes to the 4000D for video, you need to be in video mode. And in order to do that, you need to turn the dial right round to the video icon at the bottom of the preset modes. That enables you to see through the viewing screen at the back, and it's the only way that you can shoot video. You can't look through the viewfinder to shoot video, you have to look through the back screen here. It also gives you access to the menu tabs, which are dedicated to video, and the first thing that you need to do is choose your video system. There are two video systems, one is NTSC and the other is PAL or PAL. NTSC tends to be the system which is operated in the United States, and PAL tends to be the system which is operated in Europe and in other parts of the world. Now, there's not an enormous amount of difference here, however, it does change the way that the camera operates very slightly. When you start to look at frame rates, which we'll do later on, you'll see that under NTSC you get a frame rate option of 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. When you're in PAL, you get the option of 50 frames a second or 25 frames per second. The second thing you need to think about for shooting videos with the Canon 4000D is file size and frame rate. These are quite important because they will decide the quality of videos that you shoot. This camera is pretty good. It will shoot 1080p, which is full HD, and it will also shoot 720, which is standard HD, both of which are perfectly suitable for social media platforms. In order to make these changes, we go again into Video Menu 2, and right there at the very top is Movie Recording Size. If we press on that option, we get 4 choices. Now this, as I say, depends on whether you've chosen NTSC or PAL. In this instance, I'm on PAL, so I get 1920 x 1080 at 25 frames per second, 1920 at 1080 at 24 frames per second, which is the frame rate which is often used in movies, and 1280 x 720, which will give me 50 frames per second. Now this one can be very useful if you want to shoot slow motion action, because you can shoot things at 50 frames per second and then slow it right down to half speed, 25 frames per second, or even quarter speed, and it still looks very effective. The very bottom one is 640 by 480, and frankly I wouldn't bother with that at all because the quality simply isn't good enough. I would choose 1920 by 1080 at 25 in most cases, or if I was on NTSC at 30, and my second choice would be 1280 by 720 at 50, or for NTSC 60 frames per second. The third thing you need to think about is exposure. When you're shooting stills with a Canon 4000D, you've got lots of choices, and they're all here on the mode dial. They go from entirely manual to semi-automatic, and then to entirely preset automatic options. And in most cases, the camera here will be trying to get the best possible exposure for the pictures that you are taking, obviously within the parameters of the preset modes that you've chosen. With movies, it's different. For movies, you have two options. You can either shoot automatic or you can shoot manual. Now, again, with automatic for video, the camera will try to get the best possible exposure for you. In many cases, it works very well, so I would suggest that initially at least, you shoot in automatic, just to get a feel for how the camera works, and you don't have to worry about the exposure, because the camera will look after that for you. However, if you want to go into manual, there are different ways of changing the various parameters, and they're different from the way that you might do it for stills. If we go into the video menus, video exposure is in video menu 1, right at the top, and if you click on that, then you have two options, auto or manual. If you choose to go into manual, then you have much more control over the settings that you can have. You have options for setting the shutter speed, the aperture, and for setting the ISO. You can see these settings at the bottom of the screen in front of you now. From left to right, you've got shutter speed, aperture, metering, and ISO. For the shutter speed, use the main dial on the top of the camera, and by rotating it, you can move the shutter speed up and down. By pressing the AV button on the back of the camera and rotating the main dial, you can change the aperture, and here you can see that goes up and down. You can actually change both of these settings while you're shooting the video, or of course, beforehand. However, you can't change the ISO when you're shooting video live. You have to change the ISO by going to the quick control button and changing it in the options here, just as if you were shooting stills. The fourth thing to think about is sound. Now, the Canon 4000D doesn't have an external microphone socket. It just has an internal microphone here, so sound can be a bit limited with this camera. But if you go into the menus and into video menu 2, then the second one down is sound recording, and you can set that to one of three options. You can either have auto, manual, or disable. Now, I would argue against disabling this entirely because sometimes it is useful to have sound, even if you don't intend to use it in the final edit. So I would choose between auto or manual. Auto's not bad, but it will try to pick up as much sound as possible, and you may not want that. You may not want the ambient sound in your video. Manual isn't too bad, provided you're reasonably close to the source of sound. It has the decibel bar going across the bottom, and as with most cameras, the objective is to try to peak at about 12. In terms of recording quality, it's actually pretty good, and I wouldn't be adverse to using the internal microphone in my videos. Use the recording level gauge and the cross keys to get the right level to peak at 12. So, when you're shooting videos, you are actually, as I said earlier, recording through the back screen. And that means that the autofocus system is going to be a bit slower than when you're shooting stills, for example, through the viewfinder, because the camera is going to be using a different autofocus system. You've got a couple of good options for autofocus when you're shooting video, and the way to see those is to go into video menu 1 and go down to AF method, and then you'll see that you have FlexiZone, which is the single focus shot. In other words, you press the shutter button as you would for stills and the camera focuses. It doesn't change focus until you press the shutter button again. The advantage of that is you can actually focus while you record at the same time, and that can be very useful. The second option is called Live Mode, and that's quite useful because it has facial recognition, which can make it easier to focus. And the third option is Quick Mode, and that tries to be faster by bouncing the mirror inside the camera and using the viewfinder system to focus. But obviously you can't operate that one while you're shooting video. The other two systems you can operate whilst you're videoing, and so I would prefer to use those. The next couple of options that we're going to look at for shooting video with the Canon 4000D are in Video tab 3. They may seem less important than the other options that we've looked at so far, but they do affect the way that your video looks, and so they're worth checking out. If we go to Video tab 3, then at the bottom is the Picture Style option. These are the same options that you get with stills, and with stills you can choose to have vivid or sepia or monochrome and various other options, and some of them are set so that they bring the best qualities, for example, for portrait or for landscape. With video, it tends to be better to try and shoot the video as flat as possible, because then it's easier to edit afterwards. And so the best option for me, I think, to start with is neutral, at least until you decide how you want to shoot your video if you want to shoot it differently. The one just above that in video menu 3 is custom white balance. Now, if you go and buy the manual or video course that I've done for this camera, then you will see that there is an entire video on custom white balance, and it is one of my favourite options. There are some very good reasons why you should take care of your custom white balance, particularly when you're shooting video. If you're going to be shooting video in different scenes, then you will want to have a degree of continuity. And white balance will be very important to make sure that your video looks consistent all the way through. So those are the basic settings for shooting video with a Canon 4000D or Rebel T100. Just one more tip. In video menu 2, just above video system, there's an option called video snapshot. It's a really fun way of shooting short videos, and then the camera will put them all together into one long video for you. However, video snapshot will override all other video settings, so it's really important to make sure that that's disabled. I do hope you've enjoyed this video on the video settings for the Canon 4000D. If you want to know more, then why not take a look at our manual, which was specially written for the Canon 4000D or Rebel T100. In fact, we're giving away a sample of the manual absolutely free. It contains 2 full training videos, including the video for shooting movies with the Canon 4000D or Rebel T100. You can also buy the manual as a digital download with a 20% discount. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and you can download that sample straight away, and it's absolutely free.